What's this? A letter for me.
Welcome to another episode of Remember the Great Sports Through the Mail Thursdays. I'm really excited to share this week's episode with you, profiling each of these individuals that signed autographs through the mail for me, because each of these baseball players are now over 90 years old. So all three of these individuals recently signed, and I'm very thankful for them doing so, because when I'm in my 90s, I don't know if I'm going to be able to even write, much less read my fan mail. So I'm going to profile each one of these individuals. If you're interested in writing them, I definitely would recommend doing so while they still are available to sign autographs, rather than waiting to do it until it's too late. So the first one is a return from Colorado, and it is from former outfielder of the Houston Colt 45s and St. Louis Cardinals on 3 of 3. These are the only 3 that I had of them. Don Taussig. So let me tell you about Don Taussig and his career in baseball. Don Taussig, a New York native, grew up in New York, where he attended high school in New York, and later played baseball at Rutgers University as well as Hofstra University before signing with his hometown New York Yankees. Well, after one season with the New York Yankees in 1950 in their Class D affiliate, he was sold to the New York Giants in 1951. Well, from 1951 to 1957, Don would man the outfield for the different New York Giants affiliates. Well, Don would make the move with the Giants from the East Coast to the West Coast, and in 1958, the San Francisco Giants, on April 23rd, would give Don his shot at 26 years old. Don would appear in 39 games for the San Francisco Giants that year, playing different outfield positions, but would be sent back to AAA, where he would appear in 70 games, where he would finish out the season for the Giants' AAA affiliate. He then spent all of 1959 and 1960 at the AAA level. In 1960, as a member of the Portland Beavers, he batted .286, cracked 23 home runs, and hit 101 RBIs. And then he was sent to the St. Louis Cardinals. He then spent all of 1961 on the St. Louis Cardinals Major League roster, filling in as an outfielder, appearing in 98 games, including 47 starts. He batted a pretty respectable .287 with 14 doubles, 5 triples, and 2 home runs. Then 1961 rolled around, and the Houston Colt 45s selected him in the expansion draft. He split the 1962 season between Houston, the Colt 45s, and their AAA farm club, the Oklahoma City 89ers, playing in his final 16 Major League games that year for the Colts. After the 62 season concluded, his minor league journeys would continue, where he would continue to play for the Kansas City A's, the Dodgers, and the Braves. He would then hang up the cleats in 1964 after a season in AAA for the Kansas City A's, where he posted 128 games and posted a .242 batting average. In total, Don appeared in 153 Major League games. He had 69 hits, batted .262, and defensively committed only 1 error in his entire Major League career, playing all 3 outfield positions. So essentially, Don was your 4th outfielder. He was the guy that would be inserted in the lineup when your outfielder needed a day off, or a pinch hitter type of role. So very happy to add Don to the collection. I had never gotten him before, so we'll move on to the next envelope, and we will talk about that individual. All right, so this next one comes back from Arizona, and it is a return, and you may remember this card from a previous video, from Bob Oldis on a 1954 Topps card. So this is an original 1954 Topps. I also had these other Topps cards of him as well. So let me tell you about Bob Oldis and his immaculate career in baseball, from a player to a coach to a scout. Bob Oldis was a catcher whose playing career lasted for 15 seasons between the minors and the major leagues. The native of Preston, Iowa, went to high school in Iowa City, where he signed as a free agent in 1949 with the Washington Senators. At 21 years old, he appeared in the Class D League in 79 games for the Senators, posting a .285 batting average and hitting 5 home runs. Oldis would move up through the Washington Senators system through 1953 until he got his call up to the major leagues to be the backup catcher for the Washington Senators on April 28, 1953. Bob would fill in a role appearing in just 7 games for the Senators that season. In 1954, he would repeat that as the backup catcher for the Senators, appearing in just 11 games. In 1955, the Senators decided to send him back down to the minor leagues, where he would spend more time playing more regularly, but he did appear in 6 games that year for the Senators. Well, in 1956, the Senators decided after 3 years at the major league level that they would send him back to Double-A, and he would be the full-time catcher at Double-A for the Senators in 1956. After the 56 season concluded, the New York Yankees bought the contract out from the Washington Senators. The Yankees placed him in their AAA affiliate in both 1957 and 58, and he did not get a call to the major leagues either of those seasons. He would be then selected in 1959, after the 59 season from the Yankees, by the Pittsburgh Pirates in the Rule 5 draft. And as the Rule 5 draft states, you have to keep the player in the major leagues if you select them at the major league level, the Rule 5 draft, which the 60 Pirates did exactly. And Bob found himself as the backup catcher to the 1960 World Series champion Pittsburgh Pirates, who ironically beat the New York Yankees, the team that he played for the year before in the minor leagues. Well, in 1961, the Pirates decided to send the 33-year-old back down to AAA for the majority of the season, where he caught 81 games in AAA for the Pirates. However, he did appear in 4 games in 61 for the Pirates. After the 61 season concluded, he signed as a free agent with the Phillies, and that's him as a Philly there towards the end of his career. And he would be primarily the backup catcher on the Phillies in 1962 to 1963. So in total, Bob played 15 years in organized baseball, 7 years, parts of 7 years in the major leagues. He had just 236 at-bats with a lifetime .237 batting average. However, he was in the right place at the right time, being part of the 1960 World Series champion Pittsburgh Pirates. And that's a 61 tops of him after his Pirates career. So very, very happy to add Bob Oldis to the collection. I am so thrilled to share his story on my channel. After Bob retired as a player, he did coach in the Phillies system, and as well as, I believe, the Twins system, as well as a brief time in the Montreal Expos system as a coach. After he left the coaching ranks, however, he signed on as a scout and scouted for the Phillies for many years. And as of most recently, and I'm not talking about recently, but even through the early 2000s until his late 70s, early 80s, Bob was still doing scouting work for the Florida Marlins or the Miami Marlins. So this is somebody that has only known baseball his entire life. His entire life has been baseball. From 1949 through the early 2000s, Bob Oldis was involved in baseball. I can't think of a better career to have. If I could only have a year or two of what Bob Oldis had, I would trade that in a second. So thank you, Mr. Oldis. I am so happy to have your autograph in my collection, and we'll move on to the final return. Now this one I'm excited to share with you as well. I have written this individual before in the past. However, this was before I did my channel. And this is a return from Johnny O'Brien on his original 1950s cards here. And I have one Topps archive. This is not an original 53 Topps, but this is a 53 Topps archives. But all three of these are original cards. And again, you've probably seen these in my previous pickup videos at the card shows. And I finally got around to writing Johnny because, again, he's in his mid-90s. So let me tell you about Johnny O'Brien and his career in baseball and basketball. Saying at just 5'9", John O'Brien actually has a twin brother named Ed O'Brien. Both John and Ed O'Brien were multi-sport athletes from New Jersey that decided to attend Seattle University together, play basketball at Seattle University. In 1953, Johnny O'Brien became the first player in NCAA history to score 1,000 points in a season. O'Brien, ironically, because of his height, would be the shortest NCAA All-American until 2016 when Tyler Ulis of Kentucky was named a member of the first team, also 5'9". Later, he and his brother, Eddie, were drafted by the Milwaukee Hawks in 1953. But by this time, they had already signed their professional contracts to play baseball, the O'Brien twins. A not-so-great Pittsburgh Pirates team of 1953 that had 104 losses decided to bring the O'Brien twins up to the major leagues, their very first taste of professional baseball. Eddie, along with his brother Johnny, became the second shortstop second base brother combo to ever play in Major League Baseball. Previously, Garvin and Granny Hamner did that in 1945 for the Phillies. However, they would be followed by Frank and Milt Bowling with the Tigers in 1958, and of course, the most well-known brother combo, Billy and Cal Ripken of the Baltimore Orioles later in the 80s. So, Johnny and Eddie appeared in that Pirates team they had 50 wins and 104 losses. And during that 53 season, Johnny would appear in 89 games, primarily at second base, posting a .247 batting average with 2 home runs. Well, in 1954, Johnny served his country. And at 23 years old, he spent 1 year in the military. Well, in 1955, Johnny returned from his service in the military, and he appeared in 84 games that year, playing second base and posting a respectable .299 batting average for the Pirates, playing part-time. Well, 1956 rolled around, and he had some struggles at the plate. However, the Pirates decided to utilize him not just as a second baseman, but also as a pitcher. So this is a 1950s era second baseman that actually posted a 2.84 ERA in 8 games, pitching in 19 innings pitched in 1956 for the Pirates. Now that's pretty impressive, especially if you're a pitcher for the Pirates facing some of the greats of the game at that time. You're talking Hank Aaron, Ernie Banks, Willie Mays, on down the list. In 1957, he would return to play in 34 games at second base for the Pirates, and he would actually post a .314 batting average playing part-time. However, he would spend more time pitching that year, appearing in 16 games with 40 innings pitched that year for the Pirates. So after the 57 season, he started the year in 1958, again playing second base for the Pirates. However, on June 15th, 1958, Dick Ducky Schofield was traded to the Pittsburgh Pirates for Johnny O'Brien along with Gene Freeze. He only spent a short amount of time appearing in just 12 games for the Cardinals that season, but he did wind up pitching in 1 game for the Cardinals that year as well. He would spend the most of the season in 1959 with the Cardinals AAA affiliate. He would be selected in the Rule 5 draft by the Phillies. However, he would not spend time with the Phillies, because the Phillies would then in turn trade him in 1959 before he played a game with the Phillies to the Milwaukee Braves. Well, with the Braves in 1959, he appeared in 44 games, but posted just a .198 batting average in the major leagues for the Braves. He would be let go by the Braves by July 22nd, 1959, but would return to the Cardinals to finish out that 1959 season. The Cardinals would let him go after that 1959 season, and he would sign with the Cincinnati Reds. The Reds would place him in AAA. He'd appear in 73 games, posting a .309 batting average in 1960 for the Reds. However, the Reds did not call him up to the major leagues that season. After his retirement from baseball, he would return to Seattle. He would actually work as a city council member for the city of Seattle. He worked as a sportscaster at Seattle University for basketball games, along with famous Keith Jackson, the announcer Keith Jackson. He would also wind up working at the Kingdome, and also would work for an energy company out of Seattle as well. So in total, parts of 6 seasons, Johnny O'Brien would spend in the major leagues. He would appear in 339 games, posting a .250 batting average and hitting 4 home runs. Well, of these games, he would also post a career .561 earned run average, appearing in 25 games over a 3-year span as a pitcher as well. The first season was excellent, the last 2 not so good as a pitcher. As I mentioned, his brother Eddie, his twin brother, passed away unfortunately in 2014. There is an excellent 1954 Topps and Topps Archives card of the 2 of them, and I actually have it signed by both of them because I wrote both of them, prior to Eddie's death a long time ago, and I do have that signed in my collection, so I'm very happy to have that. In addition to Eddie and John O'Brien having major league ties, current Seattle Mariners pitcher or farmhand, he's in AAA and the majors with the Mariners, Riley O'Brien, is actually the grandson of John O'Brien. So it's very awesome that Riley O'Brien, the grandson of John O'Brien, is in the major leagues. So very cool to have that lineage. 2 twin brothers that played the same infield. Only 4 people in history have ever done that, the most notable being the Ripkins, and also Johnny's grandson also has played in the major leagues. So if anybody happens to have a Riley O'Brien autograph they're looking to trade, be more than happy to trade for one so I could have the grandson-grandfather combo going here. I also want to thank Mr. Bob Oldis for signing that excellent 1954 Topps. I also want to thank Don Taussig for signing these vintage 60s cards as well. I hope you learned a little bit about some unknown major leaguers that are still around with us today, all in their 90s, but I just want to profile them and talk about how awesome all 3 of these individuals are and the careers that they had in baseball, not to mention the career that John O'Brien had in the NCAA. If you get a chance, check out that video. Because John didn't play in the NBA, I did a video of NBA/MLB players. If you get a chance, I'll link it down here at the bottom, also in the corner. Look forward to your comments below, and as always, happy collecting.